Hello, everybody. This is Bob Kingpin Eres, alongside my broadcast partner over there, Brian Cano Sr. And Brian, this is the wrap up of the 2023 season of D-Backs Weekly Inside the Game. What a great year for the Diamondbacks, and so
Wow.
happy that we had the opportunity to cover them. Go ahead, Brian.
Bob, well said. Uh, Looking back to February, and in spring training in March, you're out there, covering a baseball team that's young, opportunities. You see the coaching staff just trying to mold these young players, and some of the veterans. I met Longoria for the first time in
Yep.
spring training, and I'm thinking to myself, how good could they be? How good could they be? But what I didn't imagine was the World Series and
Yeah.
being part of that and get all the way to the World Series, and being there for game. I know they didn't win, and let's face it, it sucks. But games 3, 4, and 5, the energy in the crowd for the most part was phenomenal. The games didn't turn out the way they would have liked to, but you know what? At the end of the day, those 3 games were so important to so many people. And I think I'll illustrate that later on when we do our talk. But I saw a number of videos, well, on both sides, Texas and Arizona, and despite our suffering, the Texas fans, congratulations, by the way, Rangers, world champions,
Yep.
well deserved world champions, and I'm happy for the Texas Rangers fans that get to celebrate winning a World Series for the first time. But as far as the D-backs, Bob, I was so pleased to be part of the whole thing. And then obviously getting together with you and getting our podcast kicked off about halfway through the season, and turning out the way it did. And thank you to the viewers that obviously have been with us thus far. But yeah, let's talk about the D-backs, Bob. What's going on? What are your thoughts?
Well, listen, you know, from day one in spring training, we thought we knew that the Diamondbacks were going to have a good team. We didn't expect this. We didn't expect them to go to the World Series, Brian.
Right.
We thought that they were 1 year away, that the team would go through a little bit of growing pains this year, which they did at some points in the season, right?
Yeah.
But the thing is that this team was incredible. They played great baseball. They had a great manager who is going to get extended. And I thought I heard yesterday, and I thought it was our buddy Gambo over there at KTAR and with Sports Arizona that it looks like they're going to be working on an extension for Lovullo next week. So that'll be good. That'll put everything on that side of things to rest. We always knew, and God, I've known Torey now 6 or 7 years since he's been here. We always knew that he had it in him, right?
Yeah.
That we knew from day one that his players played hard for him, always, never taken time off. I mean, I have seen that, and then I've seen the guy not on the field the next day. The thing is that they play hard for the guy. He's a good manager. Did he get out managed by Bruce Bochy in the World Series? Probably, but you're talking about Torey Lovullo going up, a guy who's going to be Hall of Fame manager, a guy who's been managing for how many years, Brian?
Bob, he's like Obi-Wan Kenobi of Major League Baseball. The guy's a genius.
Yeah, and a guy who's won now 4 World Series. That's incredible, right?
He loses his best players and he still wins 2 games. I don't get it. But anyway, keep going.
Yeah. So what I'm saying is I'm glad that from what we understand, they'll be working on a new an extension of the contract. Remember, midway through the season, they extended Torey through the 2024 season, but now he's going to get a multiple year contract, which is good.
Yeah, well deserved.
Which is good and well deserved. Yeah.
Well, I wrote about something, Bob, on my website, Tysonimo.com, that the story is EQ. It stands for emotional intelligence. And I put a colon, and I put the winning strategy of Torey Lovullo from D-back. And I think that it's fair to say this because I employ the same type of strategies, and I see the same type of growth and maturation in the younger staff. And with that being said, I think it's important that to recognize that what he's doing now, Torey, is an evolution of something he started 2 years ago. This is evolving, and it still continues to grow because despite the loss, that loss is going to create the desire to be more successful.
Yeah.
That's what's important, that they recognize. And when he said in the press conference yesterday, I went and saw the last press conference. I was there to see Torey, and he said there was a room full of crying men. He didn't know what to do. But at the same time, when I heard him say that, if it didn't hurt, it didn't mean anything. Right. That's why I look at it. And when those guys are in there crying, it stung. It hurt. It's going to leave and it's okay. Life goes on. Baseball and life go on. And with that being said, it's the experiences that you go through, and in my opinion, that you go through, that you absorb, and then you recall, and you use those experiences to make a difference the next time you're in that position. I think that's more important in some cases than winning. What's the old adage? Sometimes when you win, you really lose. Sometimes when you lose, you really win. And in this case, I think the D-backs, I'm going to take it, the World Series loss with a grain of salt, because what they learned was how to lose with grace, and how they're going to, I think anyway, this will motivate them to not want to be in that position to lose gracefully again. And I hope that that people, the fans, recognize that Torey Lovullo has created an environment that allows for that type of growth, that you don't get told, well, you failed getting on the dugout. In some cases you failed, yes, but how did you fail? Why did you fail? How do you feel about it? Those are the things I think Torey was able to do to create this bond with his boys that could not be broken, and still is not broken. Those guys are together, and the coaching staff is coming back. For the most part, all the guys are coming back. So I think that it's the building blocks or the foundation is laid. They're starting to create this pyramid of success. John Wooden, pyramid of success, by the way. And I think that they'll reach the pinnacle of that eventually. I'm not sure when it's going to happen, but Torey Lovullo is a genius. He's a genius for what he's been able to accomplish with this young team.
Yeah, and he's not only a genius; he's really a great guy. When he did the post-game conference, and let's talk about that. I mean, he broke down, and we heard the stories before we saw that he composed himself. But we did hear the story of he first sat down at the podium, and I did not go down for the post-game, but this is what I heard from Mark Brown, who's a good friend of ours, and Barry Bloom, that Torey Lovullo sat down at the podium. He couldn't compose, get himself in order per se, because he was crying. He went and hugged his family, composed himself, came back up, and did his post-game 20-25 minutes of interview, whatever it might be. The guy is, forget being a good manager, because he is. You know what? He's a great manager. Yeah. And he's still learning every day. Yeah. And I know that he will take his experiences of this, and it'll be a motivating factor for this team going forward. I mean, he talked about how he felt sorry for the fans of Arizona who supported them. He said, we bleed Sedona red, and he said the things that will unify the fan base. Yeah. I expect bigger attendance next year at Chase Field, and I'm talking about throughout the year. Right. I'm not talking about playoffs. Playoffs, 49,000 every night, right? Even though they announced it at 48.5 or around that, because that's really what capacity is supposed to be, right? But packed.
To the
there were,
gills.
believe me, there were 50,000 people in that stadium. I know that, or over.
Couldn't even walk
Okay,
around, man, elbow to elbow. It was ridiculous.
exactly. They were standing on the concourse and standing room only. But what Torey has done is brought, I think, not only the Valley together, but Arizona together to back this young team. And they're a young team, and I'm not even using that as an excuse. But listen, as Torey said, they had a great run.
So,
And I'm sure as the days goes by, these players are going to say, yeah, we did something really special last year,
yeah.
but we tasted it and let us go forward now. And,
Important, Bob, that you go through that. I mean, again, if you're look, let's face it. Look, I think it's important to recognize that what Torey Lovullo and the D-backs have done, it's sort of in some ways small businesses, small companies that are competing against larger companies, or even just doing their thing to try to make themselves better known. They maybe don't necessarily have the best of everything. They maybe have a small payroll, but at the same time, their work and their work ethic, they show up every day, they do their job, and they do it in a way that's conducive to future success, not just today, but for the
right,
future. And I think it's important to recognize that even small companies, small businesses can learn a lot from us, Torey Lovullo's style and how you treat your employees.
right.
How do you treat, you didn't do your job, get out of here, I don't need you? Or are you saying, hey man, what's going on in your world right now? Is there something that we need to talk about that maybe I can help you so you can do your job a little bit better? That's what
Yeah,
you call emotional intelligence, a little empathy. I don't want to get off, I'm going to stop preaching here, but I
right.
think that's what's important in the world, not just baseball, but Lovullo has been able to take that philosophy and use it in the scope of a baseball team, and it illustrates to the world what can happen when you bring a mix of players from different backgrounds, different colors, speak different languages, coaches from different backgrounds, different age groups. You bring them all together and you treat them all collectively the same, but individually you give them the respect that they each deserve, and you build a team. And that's what he's done. And I hope that his influence here in the Valley is a positive one, that we can all take from what Torey Lovullo has done and
Yeah,
learn. Because I've written about this, and I encourage you to read my article, because it does say in there why he does what he does, and it's important to recognize that this is a strategy. And I don't know if Torey even understands it himself sometimes, because he's such a authentic person. He's not doing it because this is a strategy. He's just authentic, and it comes across so authentic, and that's, I mean, it is.
yeah,
But in a bigger picture, those that are not as authentic will try to emulate what he is currently doing inauthentically to try to create some sort of foundation like he has done here. But again, Torey Lovullo is Torey Lovullo, and he said, frankly, I'm going to say it out loud, Bob, that despite all the activity in the World Series and the NLCS and everything that happened, he said that the one moment that he will recall on the most is the moment that he connected with his family at the end, for their
yeah.
support, for them being there for him, and him having that. And when he said that, yeah, I was touched. I was at the press box, because he's a family man, bottom line,
Right, right.
and he treats his boys like family. So again, I'm going to stop talking about Lovullo before I get emotional, because I like the guy, and I'm a reporter, and I have to be very fair and objective, and I am. And but at the end of the day, when push comes to shove, I'm a Torey Lovullo fan, bottom line.
Absolutely, absolutely. Great, great guy. Um, and like I said before, this is going to be motivating to them. I think they go now. Now here's the thing, though. They're going to go into next year as the hunted. They won't be the hunters. They're going to be the hunted. Everybody's going to be up. Every opponent that they play is going to be up to play against the Diamondbacks,
Yeah.
because they know that listen. They are now next. They are right now. They are the National League champions.
NL,
Period.
can you, NL champs?
Next
That's
next year, when they come into town, all the other teams are going to be advertising. Come out and see the defending, as our team plays, the defending National League champions. I would have never thunk this in a million years when spring training started. Okay?
Yeah.
And I'm proud to say that I'm glad that I'm saying it. You know,
Oh, yeah.
I mean, here we are. We talk about the Diamondbacks. We've done it now for half a season on our podcast, and you know, we were there. That's where we met, right?
Yeah.
At the Corbin Carroll press conference when they announced that this young man, who only played 32 games in the major leagues the prior season, who was still considered a rookie, has just signed an 8-year, $111 million contract. Well, what a steal that became, right?
Yeah, man. Yeah, no kidding. We were out there. It was kind of cold that morning. I recall. If I
Yeah,
recall, it was a little bit chilly out there that day, and
it was.
But you know what? At the end of the day, the Players' Choice Awards were announced recently, like early this morning or late last night. But our Corbin Carroll, the D-backs Corbin Carroll, our Corbin Carroll, he won the NL Outstanding Rookie of the Year award, and it looks like Carroll became the first rookie in AL or NL history to hit at least 25 homers and steal 50 bases or more, finishing with 54 stolen bases on the year. And he's a catalyst. He's a starter. We've got him here for many years, and some of the comments that his peers were making were just mind-boggling. I mean, you don't think about whether the other, during the season, what are the other players thinking about? They know that they have to contend with his speed. He's a good hitter, a great hitter when he hits it, and all these factors that go into what he does. But when you hear it from Blake Snell and you hear it from Cody Bellinger themselves, I encourage folks to go to MLB.com or wherever you can see the video of Corbin Carroll getting his award and some of the player analysis from his peers, what they thought of him. Wow. What a level of respect so early in his career, where even Blake Snell, who is the NL Pitcher of the Year, I think he's quoted as saying, yeah, not only do you have to worry about his hitting, but when he gets on base, his speed, forget about it. It basically is blowing him away. So Corbin Carroll has made an impact on the Valley and on the league itself. I'm looking forward to watching him along with the rest of them. Let's face it, D-backs are not going to be the same team next season as they were this year. There's a number of free agents that are going to be gone. Some are going to stay. Maybe you and I will have a impromptu. I know we're going to be going to the general managers meetings in Scottsdale, I think the MLB next week. So we might do something, not maybe a podcast for it, but we'll talk about it maybe on what the rumors are. But as far as I know, the D-backs are probably going to be looking for another pitcher and more than likely a third baseman and see what else they can muster up. But evidently they had an unexpected economic windfall per Derek Hall that will allow them to be a little bit more aggressive in the buying market this offseason. So go D-backs, get what we need. Let's have another run at it next season, man. I mean, got just under 150 days left, Bob. I think I'm going to take those days to rest a little bit and prepare myself for a phenomenal next season. But that's next year. Right.
That's next year, and we shall see what next year brings. Us here on our show will be covering it the same way we always have, the way that we feel. We are not stats guys, and Brian always tries to remind us of that, but we aren't. We feel the game. We tell you who we believe is going to be gone, and I think just about everything that I had predicted this year and said came true. I will say one thing only about myself is that I've been doing this and saying this for a number of years, being around the Diamondbacks. Who's going to be there? Who's going to be gone? Who's going to be brought up? And I don't know how I do it. I just have the feel. And Brian has the same feel when it comes to the coaching side and the baseball side of things. All right, Brian?
Bob, look, let's face it, you have years of experience, man. Not only have you been broadcasting for the D-backs and covering D-backs baseball for over 20 years, but I don't. I mean, at a fairly high level. I mean, not at a paid level, but I was a manager in a baseball team for many years, 10 years.
Right.
I was involved in many games. I understand in some of the cases, some of the ways maybe even the coaches are feeling, because again, the level of baseball that I coach is not a paid level, but it is a very high level. The very next level would be paid. And with that being said, the players themselves they grow in age, they get a little bit older and maybe a little more mature, but they're still players. They're baseball players. They think alike, a lot of them. So how do you get into their heads? You do it like Torey Lovullo does. And that's what I've always employed in my practices. I've tried to be that type of manager and to see it to watch it, to see it happening right in front of me. Somebody else doing what I've always tried to do, which was looked upon as maybe being a little bit indifferent. Why are you so nice to your? I'm not nice. I'm just listening. They're good kids. And I'm trying to help them grow to be good men, not just baseball players. But I think that at the end of the day, I was watching Torey Lovullo develop his team. And I kind of related to it because not only do I coach that way, but my business runs the same way. Here we are, second year, operation, and we're at the World Series going toe to toe with a lot of the local media, not go to toe to toe, but being right there with them, getting a bird's eye view of what they're doing, so that my company can grow a little bit more. Because let's face it, Bob, you and I sat there with the best of them in Phoenix media this week, and we were reporting the same way. So with that being said, I want to thank the Arizona Diamondbacks for that opportunity, Major League Baseball for that opportunity, Casey Wilcox, Alex Arpiza, Shane, Kat, Jackie, JC, and all the D-backs, Derek Hall, anybody that made it possible for a small company, 2 years involved, to be part of something so special like the World Series. I want to, thank you for that.
Yeah, and I hate to mention, current things that are happening, because this is a Diamondback show, but I just noticed that something came across my phone here that the LA Dodgers have declined the option on Lance Lynn. So, unfortunately, that happens in baseball, and probably what happened is those 4 home runs that the Diamondbacks hit against him in Game 3 of the NLDS.
Yeah, baseball is a strange, in terms of the business side of it. It's tough sport, and I'm learning that. I learned that this year, watching some of the moves the D-backs made. When you let a Baumgartner go early in the year, when you let guys like Carson Kelly go, Nick Ahmed there's some great ball.
Big payroll that they let go.
Yeah, man.
I mean, they owed at the time Baumgartner $20 million for the year. They owe him $14 million next year.
Yeah.
Nick Ahmed was like one of the highest paid Diamondbacks at around $11 million something.
Yeah.
Zach Davies, we didn't even mention that one, was let go, right? Carson Kelly was a $5 million a year player, I believe.
Yeah.
That's a lot of money to give up. But you know what? They were seeing what I was seeing, and you were seeing.
We were talking about
is these guys. I'm sorry to say it this way. They were done. They were done.
Yeah. They just go ahead.
And knowing Lovullo as I know him, of anybody that I'm sure that hurt the most for him that they knocked off the team was Nick Ahmed.
Yeah, no, that was a tough one. He'd been with the club for many years, but at the end of the day, baseball is that way, Bob. You know that. I'm learning that. Baseball doesn't have feelings. Baseball is just about getting it done. And if the team, and I know for a fact that many of my colleagues share, with me sometimes how much they enjoy the company of certain players, and it's tough to see them leave. Now, for me, it's not so bad because I don't get that close to the players. I'm supposed to report on them and whatnot, but I do. But with that being said, when Nick Ahmed was traded away, I didn't have a problem with it. I thought it was the best move the team could have made. I thought you're doing the right thing. You got Lawler coming up, and you got Perdomo, who's growing into a hell of a shortstop. Guy's phenomenal over there. He's an all-star. So what are you going to do? You got to let somebody go. It's a tough decision. Same with Carson Kelly. Moreno's back. Herrera's a solid backup. What are you going to do with Kelly? And they did what they had to do. The gloves came off this year, and that's what at the end of last season, I spoke to Lovullo, and I said, Torey, my first year was pretty easy. I said, I didn't get to do a whole lot, but my second year is next season. I said, I'm taking the gloves off. I said, I'm going to do some reporting that's a little different than this season. And he said, I like that. The gloves come off. And you know what, Bob, on their end as well, the gloves came off this year. And I can illustrate that by saying Baumgartner, Ahmed, Kelly, and Davies. When you let those players go, even though you owe them money, because it's in the best interest of the team, and the team
Right.
makes it to the World Series. Hats off to the gentleman that made those decisions, or the team that made those decisions, because they paid off huge.
Right.
And we got to have the World Series here in Phoenix.
Right. And we will make an honorable mention before we wrap this thing up of Mike Haze, who's him and his team have truly built a team. They're a model. They're one of the lowest payrolls in the league, and here they are knocking off guys with payrolls that are 2 and 3 times the size of theirs.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they're doing it by developing the young players. The farm system that they've built must be amazing. Okay, I call them trainers. Okay, the coaches that they have, they're trainers, right? They're training these guys how to play in the league. You know, it 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 takes me back to one part of the I don't know if it was in the NLDS when Mookie Betts broke into Torey's news conference, and Mookie Betts loves Torey Lovullo. Mookie Betts has said that Torey Lovullo made him a baseball player. And that's huge.
Yeah, no, that's an influence, man. That's what I'm saying. It's a big deal, and I'm glad to hear. I'm happy to hear that because Torey's touched others as well. We just happen to have him here in Phoenix this season. And
right, but he was with Boston for a number of years,
learning the same thing, teaching the same things. And again, it's paid off this season, obviously. Well, Bob, looks like we're going to be out of time here in a second or two. You want to sign us off?
Well, everybody, thanks so much for joining this year on D-Backs Weekly Inside the Game. This has been just a fun ride for Brian and myself, and I just wanted to make sure that we do thank you for your support, for your continued support, and we look forward to a tremendous 2024. Brian?
2024, not too far away. Like I said, it's about 150 something days away. But yes, folks, thanks for being with us. Those that enjoy our brand of what we do, which is a hybrid. We're not stats guys. I mean, we are stats guys. We're not stats guys. Excuse me. Take that back. We're hearts guys. We don't do stats, but at the same time, I introduce some stats. So it's kind of a hybrid version. But we go with our gut. We go with our heart, and I think that's where Bob and I we like to think that we're a little bit different in that regard. So for those that enjoy what we do, thanks for being with us. We appreciate it. We look forward to engaging with you more and more down the road. I'm looking forward to 2024, just like Bob. And again, I want to clarify myself. We are hearts guys. We are not stats guys.
Yep. And with that, I think we'll just say goodbye until 2024. I'm Bob Kingpin Eres, alongside that good-looking guy over there, Brian Cano Sr. Brian, always a pleasure working with you, and look forward to next season.
Yeah, Bob, no, thanks for taking me under your wing, man. I learned a lot this year with you, and I look forward to for the future. So thank you as well. Folks, see you later.
Take care, everybody.